The first time my bicycle spoke to me, I was coasting along the Prinsengracht, wind pushing spring blossoms around my tires. "You can do better than pedaling," it whispered through the handlebars, a vibration travelling straight into the hollows of my ribs. I almost skidded into the canal. Bicycles in Amsterdam have always been chosen familiars. At 16, every adolescent visits the bicycle tree, an ironwood oak sprawled behind the Rijksmuseum, where hundreds of unlocked bikes lean against its trunk. You walk a slow circle until one rings its bell, only for you. Mine rang late when I was 19 and desperate for work. The courier company required a bonded bike, so I spent my last coins on an offering of oil and tulips. A matte black single speed hummed at my ankle. Shy as a duck, I named it Blink. 2 years later, I knew Blink's every mood, the way its gears purred whenever we felt free, the stutter that meant the chain needed love. But until that morning by the Prinsengracht, I hadn't heard an actual voice. "You can do better," Blink repeated, its accent somewhere between bicycle bell and cat purr. "How?" I asked aloud. "Just want it," it said. I wanted. The canal blurred and we folded. No other word fits into a lap of luminous spokes. A breath later, we unfolded outside my delivery address near Museum Plen. 4 kilometres vanished like stale smoke. Teleporting, it seems, is simply cycling so efficiently that space forgets to charge a toll. I whooped. Blink chimed modestly. Neither of us saw the cadaverous figure in a fluorescent vest watching from beneath a no parking sign. Courier life sharpened after that. Drop-offs that used to take 30 minutes now took 3, and word spread that Noor van Dijk could outrun rain. Urgent jobs ballooned. Tips followed. Blink and I leapt across rooftops of air, ferrying prescriptions, lab samples, contraband, stroop waffles soft enough to make tourists sob. But bicycles gossip, and mine carried warnings between spokes. Bikes were disappearing. Not the usual tumble into the canal vanishments, but snatched in daylight, locks frozen, seats still warm. 15 on Monday, 22 on Tuesday. Empty racks looked like mouths prise open in surprise. "Someone is collecting us," Blink said one evening, balancing on its kickstand while I munched fries at Dam Square. "Thieves?" I said through curry sauce. "No, thief, singular. He smells like formaldehyde and parking tickets." That description clenched my stomach. Every cyclist knows the traffic wardens, those municipal necromancers tasked with keeping wheels, souls, and tourists rolling in polite circles. They redistribute bike karma. Free air pumps here, fines there, soft haunting so a rickety cruiser remembers to brake. Most are strict but kind. Except Carol Kraz. Legend said Kraz died on duty decades ago, hit by an out-of-control tandem of all ironies, yet refused the retirement of Graven Garden. The city kept him on because his paperwork never paused for lunch. He could raise stoplights from the dead, bind pedestrian spirits to crosswalks. If he was stealing bikes, the situation was worse than simple larceny. Wednesday sunset, I received a priority call from dispatch. Package at the Royal Concert Gabba. Delivery, Central Station, in 20 minutes. Bonus if you avoid tourist clusters. Blink flexed its pedals. Eager. We zipped toward Museum Plen so fast sparks leapt. Halfway there, the sky dimmed as though someone dialed down the wattage. Crowds froze mid-selfie. A hush seeped over the city, heavy as canal water. Then came the whistle, 3 notes, shrill and hollow. My heart stuttered to its rhythm. Bikes around us rattled in their racks, handlebars twisting like dogs straining at leashes. "He is here," Blink said. Carral Kraz stepped from an alley, skin grey as the paving stones, yellow vest glowing with municipal authority. His eyes shone green, the colour of traffic lights, eternally granting permission. In one gloved fist, he held a chain of bicycle bells, stitched together with red twine. The bells jingled as if struggling. Souls, I realised. Bicycle souls. "Courier Noor," Kraz croaked. His voice smelled like unpaid fines. You ride contraband. Blink vibrated furiously. She's registered, I said, though I didn't know if teleportation required a special permit. Not the bicycle. Kraz pointed at me. You. The ground buckled. Cobblestones rearranged into a roundabout no one remembered approving. Tourists, back in motion, started walking in tight circles, guided by Kraz's invisible lariat. Each carried a selfie stick like a wand, but their eyes were dull. The flow of visitors must be managed, Kraz intoned. Their footsteps power the city's afterlife economy. Your shortcuts disrupt my calculus. Worse, you withhold a bicycle of rare capacity. He raised the chain of bells. Clappers clanged like teeth. Dozens of bikes burst from hiding, rusty frames, flower-decked cruisers, high-end Raya decks, all riderless, pedalling in an undulating swarm behind him, metal marionettes. These were the stolen. Blink spun us around. We sprinted. Kraz's pet bikes gave chase, spokes scissoring air. Trams rang warnings. Benches slid aside of their own will. Amsterdam, always helpful to couriers. Yet the revenant peloton gained ground. Need more distance, Blink warned. Then fold, I shouted. Want fiercely, Blink reminded. I conjured the memory of my elderly neighbour smiling when I delivered her arthritis cream 10 minutes early, how her relief tasted like sunlight. I poured that want into the pedals. Space blinked. We landed atop Nemo Science Museum, green hull rising above docks like a ship ready to sail sky. Blink's tyres screeched, traction fighting copper roof below. Kraz flock wheeled in confusion. Good, Blink panted. But he tracked our signature. Not safe long. What does he plan? Enslave us. Bind our free wheels to his necromantic traffic grid. With teleportation under his command, he could redirect not just bikes, but every soul passing through Schiphol. The dead, the living, the lost. We needed allies. I messaged the Spoke Coven, a loose guild of riders who fixed flats with sigils and brewed chain lube from moonlight. They answered with coordinates. A maintenance tunnel beneath Central Station, midnight. Until then, hide. I stashed Blink in my apartment, a fourth-floor walk-up cluttered with courier stickers and cat mugs, and stirred a pot of emergency Urton soup. Though spoon met mouth, rarely while thoughts spun. Could I face a necromancer who controlled traffic itself? Couriers survived by obeying, bending then breaking rules. Kraz was the author now. Blink interrupted my spiral. He takes more bikes every hour. We fight or we become invoice numbers. Near midnight, we coasted toward Central Station, shadows drawn long by sodium lights. The air smelled of sea and diesel. A secret door behind Platform 9, unlocked by tapping a 12-speed cadence on a cast-iron pillar, opened into the tunnel. The Spoke Coven waited amid echoes and chain grease. Yost on a cargo bike bearing twin toddlers fast asleep. Lale with tyres studded like runes. Marta, whose recumbent glittered with rear-view charms. 20 riders in all. Familiars humming. News gets worse, Yost said. Kraz built a roundabout in the old postal hall. He's funneling tourist spirits there to harvest kinetic piety. Needs about 2,000 more bikes to lock the spell. Midnight tomorrow. That's Tour de Doom, someone muttered. We formed a plan. Infiltrate the postal hall, break the charm circles binding the stolen bikes, then lead a mass breakaway to overwhelm Kraz. Simple if you ignored undead bureaucracy. Teleportation became our ace. Blink could ferry strike teams past barricades, provided we carried tokens of desperate need. Remember? Cookies for a sick child, a last love letter, a cat waiting breakfast. The tunnel buzzed with stories to prime the spell. Preparations filled the night. We etched circles of chalk around hubs, whispered encouragement into spokes, replaced air valves with feathers for luck. Blink lay on its side, calm amid clamour. You ready? I asked. Always, it replied, and I felt its pride. A familiar not just chosen, but choosing destiny. Dawn crept while we slept in shifts. Noon saw flyers distributed citywide. Free bike checks tonight. Postal hall crasses, bait to snare more rides. Our ambush would double as rescue. At dusk we rolled out, group small enough to avoid attention, hearts loud. The city felt unsettled, curbs drifting inches off alignment, traffic lights blinking, semaphore only ghosts could read. Tourists marched in tidy loops, smile muscles spasming. Some clicked cameras aimed at nothing. The postal hall loomed like a castle of red brick and trumpet windows. Inside, Kraz roundabout glowed sigil purple, lanes delineated by spectral chains of handlebar tape. The stolen bikes clattered along the ring, sparks shearing from pedals as they pushed a wind of prayers toward the ceiling's oculus. Above, suspended in a vortex, hovered orb souls shaped like boarding passes. Kraz stood on a dais of piled locks, clicking a turnstile every time a bike passed. Each rotation tightened a noose woven from reflective vests. Phase 1, insertion. Blink, and I folded, carrying Yost, Lale, Marta. We popped inside a maintenance cupboard behind Kraz's platform. Space folded crisply. The taste of cinnamon gum lingered, my personal want token. Phase 2, sabotage. Yost's toddlers awake now, eyes dawn-bright toddled out with wrenches, unbolting bolts that anchored the chain of bells to the dais. Children can't be ticketed, a loophole even undead wardens respect. Phase 3, liberation. Lale scattered copper tacks imprinted with the city seal across the lanes. As enchanted wheels rolled over, the tacks absorbed Kraz's binding sigils, popping like bubble wrap. Pedals slowed. Handlebars twitched questioningly. Marta, conductor of empathy, rang her recumbent's bell in a lullaby cadence. Free, free, ride free. The bikes recognized choice. Some peeled off, coasting to us like bewildered dogs now off-leash, Kras noticed. His vest flared green. Violation. He blew the whistle. Air congealed, thick as bureaucracy. My lungs refused expansion. Blink's chain seized. Yost's toddlers froze mid-giggled wrench. Teleport, I croaked, but one requires breath, and Kras had embargoed breath itself. Necromancy is paperwork plus leverage. I'd underestimated the leverage. Kras didn't need to kill us. He needed us to file forms in triplicate for eternity. But we weren't alone. Outside, hundreds of cyclists answered covert flyers massing at the hall's main doors. They pounded wheels against wood, each thud a stamp demanding audit. Tourists breaking from loops joined, raising selfie sticks like torches. The pressure built until hinges shrieked. Light poured in, and with it a collective want. We want our city back. Air rushed into my chest. Blink hummed. We folded. Just me and Kraz this time, because I grabbed his vest before he could vanish. Teleportation works on passengers, willing or not, if the rider wants fiercely enough. I wanted him away from the bikes, away from the souls. I pictured the bicycle tree, roots older than the city. Space obeyed. We unfolded in Vondel Park, beneath the ironwood oak at moonrise. Lanterns glowed gentle. Kraz stumbled, vest dimming. Jurisdiction, he began, is sacred ground. I said, you need a permit. I held up the chain of bells Yost's toddlers had loosened. Without it, Kraz's authority leaked like air from a puncture. Bells rang plaintively, pleading for home. I draped them over a low branch. Metal melted into bark, fusing back into the covenant that bikes serve companionship, not captivity. Kraz shrank, fluorescent fabric sloughing off to reveal the frail clerk he once was. He looked at his hands, confused, as though the decades of undeath had been overtime he never asked for. Rest, I told him. The city will manage. Leaves swirled, covering him like receipts filed at last. When wind cleared, only a fine powder of road chalk remained. Blink exhaled through spokes. We returned to the postal Hall Street line, pedalling this time to find chaos blossomed into festival. Freed bikes circled with their riders cheering, bells pealing liberty. Souls shaped like boarding passes drifted outward, catching night breeze, scattering toward canals, museums, brownstone apartments, wherever unfinished stories waited. Jost handed me a stroopwafel stamped "Thanks." Lale hugged her bike. Marta's recumbent played 3 harmonious chimes autonomously. Proud. Someone asked, "What now?" We drafted new regulations on a pizza box still warm. 1. No bikes shall be owned. Relationships only. 2. Every Thursday traffic flows clockwise regardless of signage just to keep the city imaginative. 3. Necromancy may be practiced but only for pothole repair. The box burned with golden ink, sealing the bylaws into civic dream. Days later, life settled into its usual delightful madness. Tourists resumed ambling but with spontaneous detours. A side street jazz bar, a hidden courtyard, a living statue that winked. Souls and bicycles mingled freely. Sometimes handlebars turned themselves toward a rider who needed purpose. As for me, I kept couriering, though clients learned my deliveries arrived precisely when wanted, rather than when scheduled. Blink and I would still fold through space, yet we savoured pedaling too. Teleportation sweet only against the salt of genuine distance. One grisly dawn, a newbie courier coasted beside me, her bike a shy lavender fixer-upper. "Is it true bikes can talk?" she asked, hopeful, afraid of sounding silly. I smiled, squeezed Blink's right handle, and my familiar chimed greeting, warm as bread. The lavender bike quivered, bell ringing back. "Yes," I said. "And the first thing they'll ask is what you want, fiercely. Listen well." Blink rolled ahead, leaving twin trails of music on wet cobblestones. I followed heart light, the city rotating beneath us like a will that, for the moment, had no intention of stopping.